Welcome to our YouTube channel where we explore the big ideas that shape our world today. In this series, we will dive into the philosophy of history as articulated by Sir John Glubb in his seminal work, The Fate of Empires. Glubb, a renowned historian and soldier, studied the rise and fall of empires throughout history and distilled his insights into a powerful framework that can help us understand the trajectory of civilizations. In this episode, we will focus on the American empire of today and examine how it compares to the patterns observed by Glubb in other empires. We will explore the causes of decline and decay, as well as the potential solutions that Glubb offers to reverse the course of history. But we won't stop there. We will also draw from Machiavelli's The Prince to find additional strategies for preserving power and avoiding collapse. But before we dive into the details, we want to give special acknowledgement to our viewers from Douglas Homes and out Westport. Y'all brothers stay good. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That out the way. We believe that studying these local examples can shed light on the broader challenges that face our nation and our world. And at the end of this episode, we will issue a call to action for our viewers. We believe that understanding the fate of empires is not just an academic exercise, but a practical imperative for anyone who cares about the future of our civilization. So we invite you to join us on this journey of discovery and reflection. But first, let's take a step back and explore the three ages of empires, a concept that Glubb introduces in his book and that serves as a useful framework for our analysis. Hello, folks. Today we are going to talk about the fate of empires. And the United States being the empire in question, we will talk about it in correlation to Sir John Glubb's book, The Fate of Empires. This book talks about the rise and fall of many empires throughout history, and how they have followed a similar cycle of growth, decay, and collapse. We will be looking at the similarities between the past empires and America, and how we can avoid a similar fate. But first, let's understand the three stages of empire building that Sir John Glubb identified. The first stage is the age of conquest or expansion. This is the stage where the empire is built through military conquest and expansion. The second stage is the age of commerce or affluence. This is the stage where the empire is at its peak, economically and culturally. The third and final stage is the age of intellect or decadence. This is the stage where the empire begins to decline due to intellectual stagnation, corruption, and lack of leadership. First, let's take a deeper look into these three ages. The first stage, the age of conquest expansion, is characterized by a strong sense of purpose, a drive for expansion, and a desire for wealth and power. Examples of empires in this stage include the Roman Empire and the Mongol Empire. During this stage, empires typically engage in conquest and territorial expansion. The second stage, the age of commerce affluence, is marked by prosperity and economic growth. Emperors in this stage often become complacent and content with their wealth and power, leading to a decrease in military strength and a lack of focus on long-term goals. Examples of empires in this stage include the British Empire and the Dutch Empire. The third and final stage, the age of intellect decadence, is characterized by a loss of traditional values and a focus on individualism and personal pleasure. In this stage, intellectual pursuits such as the arts and sciences are highly valued, but military power and national security are often neglected. Examples of empires in this stage include the Ottoman Empire and the Mughal Empire. This stage is also where the empire begins to decline due to intellectual stagnation, corruption, and lack of leadership. But the military, which was once the backbone of the empire, loses its effectiveness and the government becomes bloated and inefficient. The arts and sciences, which once flourished, become stagnant and repetitive. The empire becomes inward-looking and defensive, and the focus shifts from growth and expansion to preservation and survival. How does all of this relate to America? Many historians and political analysts argue that America is currently in the age of intellect decadence, citing the country's focus on individualism and entertainment over national security and long-term goals. However, it is important to note that these stages are not necessarily linear and can overlap, and that the fate of an empire is not predetermined. But when we take a look at the following, the historians seem to be correct. Let's take a further look into the age of intellect decadence to get a better understanding of what I mean intellectual stagnation. During this stage, intellectual life becomes stagnant, and there is a lack of creativity and original thinking. In America, we see this in the decline of interest in science, mathematics, and other technical fields, as well as a decline in reading and writing skills. A focus on personal interests over collective interests. In the age of intellect and decadence, there is often a decline in civic-mindedness and a focus on individualism over collective interests. In America, this can be seen in the rise of identity politics and the decline of civil discourse, where people are more likely to prioritize their personal interests and beliefs over the common good. The decline of social capital, or the network norms and trust that facilitate cooperation among people, is also a symptom of this trend. Corruption and the decline of moral values. In the age of intellect and decadence, corruption becomes widespread and moral values decline. This can be seen in America today in the rise of political polarization, where politicians prioritize their party and personal interests over the needs of their constituents. Finally, the decline in moral values can be seen in the breakdown of traditional family structures and the decline of religious adherence. There has also been a rise in income inequality and a decline in social norms, networks, and trust. The heavy concentration of wealth among a small elite has led to a decline in social mobility and opportunity for the majority of people. This individualistic spirit has left most citizens vulnerable to groupthink and intolerant of the common good of collective cooperation and country exceptionalism. In addition, one quote from Glubb that stands out is, "The death of a nation comes when the people are not willing to defend it," emphasizing the need for a strong sense of national identity and loyalty. Overall, it is important to note that these similarities are not a definitive sign that America is in decline. Rather, they are warning signs that America must be mindful of in order to avoid a similar fate to past empires. Now that we understand the possibility of the problem, let's talk in terms of solutions. Machiavelli's The Prince principles can be useful in guiding leaders on how to maintain power and stability in their respective empires. One quote from Machiavelli that is particularly relevant is, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both," highlighting the importance of strong military power and a sense of fear among other nations. Let's hear some of his solutions. A decline in the morality and values of the people. According to Machiavelli, a prince should strive to be both loved and feared by the people. However, he also acknowledges that it is difficult to maintain both qualities. In this case, Machiavelli might suggest that a leader focus more on fear than love in order to maintain control over the people, even if it means being seen as harsh or ruthless. Machiavelli also believed that a leader should not be bound by traditional moral codes if they hinder the success of the state. An increase in corruption and self-interest among the ruling class. Machiavelli acknowledges that leaders often have to engage in immoral acts in order to maintain power. He argues that it is better for a leader to be feared than loved, and that they should use any means necessary to stay in power. However, he also believes that leaders should avoid being too greedy or self-interested, as this can lead to their downfall. A leader should prioritize the needs of the state above their own personal gain. Intellectual stagnation and lack of innovation. Machiavelli believed that a leader should surround themselves with smart and capable advisors who can offer new ideas and perspectives. He also argues that a leader should be willing to adapt and change with the times, rather than clinging to traditional ways of doing things. A leader who fails to innovate and adapt may be seen as weak or ineffective. Economic decline and dependence on foreign powers. Machiavelli believed that a strong economy was essential for the success of a state. He suggests that a leader should focus on developing their own resources and industries, rather than relying on foreign powers. If a state becomes too dependent on others for their economic success, they become vulnerable to outside influence and control. Military overextension and failure to maintain military strength. Machiavelli believed that a strong military was essential for the survival of a state. He argues that a leader should always be prepared for war and should maintain a strong military presence. A leader who fails to do so may be seen as weak and vulnerable to attack. At the same time, Machiavelli warns against overextending the military, as this can drain resources and lead to the downfall of the state. After exploring the YouTube video about The Fate of Empires by Sir John Glubb and comparing it to the American empire of today, we can conclude that there are common themes between countries that make them fall. Glubb's essay suggests that the lifespan of empires is approximately 250 years, and that they go through distinct phases of growth, expansion, and decline. Machiavelli's book, The Prince, also provides insight into the characteristics of successful rulers, which can be applied to empires as well. Looking at recent history, we can see that the British Empire, the Soviet Union, the Ottoman Empire, and the Roman Empire all followed a similar path of rise, peak, and decline. By studying the factors that contributed to their downfall, the U.S. can identify potential pitfalls and take action to avoid them. Regardless of which stage America is in, the lessons of history are clear. Empires rise and fall, and the path to decline is often paved with intellectual stagnation, corruption, and lack of leadership. The key to avoiding this fate is to recognize the signs of decline and take corrective action before it's too late. This means investing in education and innovation, promoting a culture of accountability and responsibility, and developing a shared sense of purpose and identity. By recognizing the three stages of empire building, we can better understand where America stands today and take action to ensure a prosperous and sustainable future. Thank you. Finally, we want to thank you for watching this video and would encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to Old Man Smoke's channel. And if you found this informative, please also donate to the Cash App.